we're halfway through the year, and I'm interested to know what sort of grade you guys would give Disney. So, we're going back to school. We're a little bit more than halfway through the year. Disney has released, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies so far this year, and let's just go through them. They've made $2.5 billion domestically. That is insane. $2.5 billion domestically on 7 movies. Black Panther did $700 million domestically, $1.34 billion total. Wrinkle in Time did $100 million domestically. Infinity War, $678 million domestically, $2.045 billion worldwide. Solo, $213 million domestically. Incredibles 2, $591 million. And of course, these haven't finished their run. Incredibles 2 hasn't finished its run. Ant-Man and the Wasp did $205 million domestically, $451 million total so far. And then Christopher Robin has done $58 million domestically, $70 million total worldwide. So, let's start with you, Ed. Or Cameron, you've been quiet. Let's start with you. What grade, halfway through the year, what grade are you giving Disney on their movies?
Just off of the box office?
Box office and quality. I mean, we've seen all of these movies. So what grade are you giving them halfway through?
They get an A.
An A on both quality and box office?
Yeah. I wouldn't say an A plus, but definitely an A. Well, I would say an A plus on box office.
Really? Even with Wrinkle in Time in there?
Yeah. I think, when you have a movie that's making 200, not 200, you have 3 movies over $1 billion. So the fact that you have one movie that is at 132 million, yes, that is super low, but I'm sorry, you still get an A.
All right, we got an A from Cameron. Ed, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I would say quality-wise, I would give it an A plus, even with A Wrinkle in Time. Wrinkle in Time's, I would say, been the weakest film so far this year. But even it had good and bad, had good moments and bad moments. We had some issues with it, but it was a decent film, and it will have made its money back. Every one of these films will have exceeded their budgets, so every one of them has been profitable. Some more than others. I think Solo has been disappointing overall at the box office, but quite honestly, I enjoyed it, I think, more than Rogue One, and I can't wait for it to come out on video. So when you mix in those, which are the weaker performing ones at the box office, along with your Black Panthers and your Infinity Wars and your Incredibles, it's a huge year. So I'm very happy with what they've done box office wise, and I would say that I did expect a little bit more box office wise at the beginning of the year out of both A Wrinkle in Time and Solo, but they've made their money back, so I guess we can't complain too much about that.
Yeah. Kristen, what do you? Well, see, I don't know if Wrinkle in Time has, because it had.
What was? Do you know what the budget was?
The budget was it was over $100 million for Wrinkle in Time, and a total, including the foreign box office, it's made $132 million.
132.
Yeah, so I don't think it has.
It'd be close with, especially when you get into DVD and Blu-ray sales and digital sales. It would probably be close as to whether it breaks even or not. But that being they haven't had any, actual flops, so to speak.
Yeah. Kristen, what about you? What are you thinking? What's Disney's grade, technical score and or box office score and quality score?
I think box office score, yeah, I've got to give them an A. They've got some big juggernauts in there that are bringing in bank, and that more than balances out the ones that are not making as much. And I think of expectations versus outcome. So it's not just they didn't make as much, but it's always the expectations of what people were hoping it would make. Those are the ones that I really feel are counterbalanced by the juggernaut films. Like Christopher Robin doing 58, to me, that's a success for that movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to pull in everybody the way that like a Black Panther or an Avengers is going to do. So when you think of it by that measure, I think it makes A Wrinkle in Time look a little bit better, because that movie is not for everybody either, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
I think when you look at it from that viewpoint, it actually, to me, becomes more successful than we maybe think that it was. Because honestly, I'd put like A Wrinkle in Time kind of in the same place as a Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
Yes, it had a little bit more of an action bend to it, but like it was a film about a tween, you know. It's got Oprah in it. Like Oprah is not universal. Like I don't know if like dudes are like all about Oprah. So
that's a very good point, Kristen. Because when you put it in the context of like a tween movie, like I don't know, the Divergent series or the what is the other? There's another big one.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games or Maze Runner or something like that. Well, Hunger Games I think probably exceeded, but like Maze Runner and those others, this is right in that range. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
so yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And then sorry. Quality, I also give an A. I do agree with Ed. I think Wrinkle in Time was definitely the weakest one of all of the films that have come out at this point. But yeah, there were good pieces to it. Although so far it's definitely been my least favorite of the ones we've seen this year. But
it's better than Christopher Robin's better than Wrinkle in Time. Huh? Weird. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Look, it's all relative, Ken. It's all relative.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Don't let anybody like my husband or anybody who knows me personally hear that I said that, because I'm always saying I'm not a relativist. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to look at the results and say which one is the most disappointing, I guess when you review that in light of the genre and expectations and all of those things, then Solo was the one that's the most disappointing. And that in itself is disappointing because that was a really good film. It was a really good film.
Yeah.
So overall, though, I mean, when you kind of think about all the different factors that went into who's going to see these movies, why they're going, why they're not going, I mean, you can't give them below an A on quality or on box office between the weight of the Juggernaut films and the quality of all of the films that have come out.
Oh, see, look at me. I'm gonna buck that trend. No, I absolutely have to give them an A, probably an A plus on their box office. I mean, $2.5 billion domestically, like already, like that is insane. You have the big ones of Black Panther and Infinity War and Incredibles 2. And yes, I agree that Solo was underperformer. Wrinkle in Time, especially when you put it as a tween movie. I think you brought up such a great point, Chris, in that because when you look at Wrinkle in Time that way, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. So that kind of puts the mistake on Disney's side. That why did you let this budget get to be so high for this movie? That's like putting $100 million budget on Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin didn't underperform. Like, it's not that Christopher Robin underperformed; it's that Disney spent way too much money, and I kind of put them in that same vein when it comes to Solo, because. If they had not spent as much on Solo, if they didn't have to go through all the directors and the reshoots and all that stuff like that, I think 213 million, to borrow some phrasing from Ed, would be a good box office, because not every film can make $1 billion or something like that. If it, honestly, because it's Star Wars, you'd kind of expect it to make that $500 million domestically and all that stuff, and you kind of expect it to do that. But look, not everybody's going to like every Star Wars film, just like not everybody's going to like every Avengers film. And it's Disney's job to kind of weigh that, and to say, okay, for this particular film, what do we think we can bring in? Not necessarily, this is Star Wars, let's go ahead and go wild and spend millions and millions of dollars on it, but for this particular film, what kind of audience do we think we can attract, and let's spend that money relative to what kind of audience we think we can attract. I think that kind of brings in a good point there. Now, for quality, I don't want to give them less than an A, because I feel like a B is harsh, but like somewhere between, it's like, is there something between like an A- and a B+ where they can be, only because...
A B+ sharp.
A B plus sharp. Exactly. And I'll tell you why. And it really is because I agree with you guys that A Wrinkle in Time is the weakest performer in here. And I feel like Wrinkle in Time is such a weak performer that I can't necessarily give them an A. Like, it's not a bad film, and I said in my review that people were going to be unfair to it. Like, I just knew that people were going to be unfair to it because it is a tween film. It is, something like that. But I'm not used to that kind of lack of quality, I guess, from Disney. It wasn't a bad film. It's kind of like, if there were like an Alice Through the Looking Glass. Like, I enjoyed Alice Through the Looking Glass more than your average person did, but in a year where Disney releases that, I have a hard time giving them an A. It's like an A-, maybe, for quality, just because probably because of A Wrinkle in Time. But all things considered, I think they had good movies this year so far.
Well, we're not done yet. We've got the Nutcracker coming, so
we do have the Nutcracker coming. I think you're gonna like the Nutcracker. I really do. And honestly, I feel like if you're looking ahead with Wreck-It Ralph 2, Nutcracker, Mary Poppins Returns, I think we have smooth sailing ahead. I really do. Is there any film you guys are worried about? Is it just Nutcracker, Ed?
That's the only one that I'm worried about. We had a discussion a long time ago. My wife was really biased or against this film from the get-go, just because she loves the Nutcracker, she loves the ballet, and we knew that this wasn't going to be that going into it. But since then, I've kind of started to see signs that make me feel a little uncomfortable as to where this movie's heading. It does look like there's been a lot of stuff that's been derived from other movies, whereas the first trailer to me looked very, very original, very, very different. This last trailer that came out gave me a little bit of pause. I hope I'm wrong. Believe me, I'll be there opening night, and I hope I'm wrong. But it felt a little too Alice in Wonderland, or felt a little too...
Yes.
I just got that vibe from it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I was wanting something wholly original. I am glad that they're doing the music, but man, I can't keep. Kim pointed out one thing, and that was Keira Knightley's voice in the trailer. And ever since she pointed that out, that's all that I can hear, and I don't know about that. But I really hope for the best. I think Wreck-It Ralph 2 is going to be another massive hit, and I think Mary Poppins will be a perfect Christmas movie. So I'm hoping that all three of these perform well.
I wonder though how much of the Nutcracker one has to do with that Just a Girl cover that they put on there. Like the I'm just a girl.
I was not a fan of that.
It's like when I heard that I was like, wait, what? Like why are we No Doubt? Really? Is that I don't know.
Ironically, that gave me serious doubts.
That was a good dad joke. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, Ed said the same. I mean, that's exactly what I feel. The moment I saw the original trailer, I'm like, okay, oh yeah, here's this Nutcracker thing. Let's see what's it about. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then the more extended trailers started coming out, and I was like, oh, I'm very, very much got of the first Alice, and I didn't like the first Alice. I liked Through the Looking Glass a lot better than the first one, and this one is giving me first Alice vibes, and I'm not looking forward to it now. The only saving grace there is I want to see Misty Copeland, and I love Helen Mirren, so I'm gonna go because I'm contractually obligated.
All of a sudden we have contracts now? That's okay. Is it pretty nauseating being on the Disney Movie Review now that you have to go to these movies? Like, is that... Oh gosh.